When you put Pluto in the Earth houses, the blocks and the fears are going to come through practical, matter-of-fact things: money, health, career. The skills I have, the position I have in life, the status, the resources. Am I paid enough, or do I not have? I'll never get paid enough. I'll never have the right job. I can never get that position until someone dies, or whatever. They can be, or if I can't get that, then I better be ahead of the gang, or I better control this way. Or I'm going to control. Like I can't get control at work, but I'm really going to control it at home. Or it can split, but the control factor is going to come over money, value, money and values, improvements, duty, service, skills. A fear of skills. I'm just doing this job. I'll stay there forever because I'm afraid of losing that and not being good enough at something else. So I better take this. That's a sellout. With Pluto, if you sell out and take a second choice, you don't get easy things happen. The bad things that are happening, and you start saying, "Well, I have to face it. I have to go get a better skill, or I have to get more money to pay for schooling than when I don't think I have enough to get by on." Or the fears and the blocks come into these practical matters: having a job, putting up with a boss, taking abuse, and then not being able to threaten it or stand up to it because you lose your job, and that would threaten too many other things. So, like, even a fear of getting older could be in the earth houses. The fear of being older, of just being vulnerable. It's going to try and practically control things, be financially secure, have a fixed job, have power by having a position, and hold it and use it. That can be a growth. That can be a fear, a block. But when Pluto's there, you have to look at it and say, okay, they're using it that way. What's the undertow? Where's the insensitivity, or where's the fear or the block? You got the power. What's the undertow? Who's being powered? You don't have the power. Who's powering you? Really, if it were Neptune, I'd say who's on first. But here, it's Pluto is wherever it is, and you can't get around it. So when it's in the air houses, expression, relationships, and friendships, there can be blocks about knowledge and about communication. So Pluto in the third house, the person's very controlled in their own knowledge, or they're afraid of it, or they know it too strong and they're not putting it, or they're over-controlling with their thoughts. That's the third house. That can be brothers and sister things and other associations with it, and how things are. There's a fight there for what's true. In a relationship, it's what's really true. Who spent the money? How are we going to use it? We have to have this. We have to do what's doing it. What's sharing? What's true? So the confrontations will come through communication with a partner, or not communicating with a partner when threatened, which can threaten the partnership. Same way with friends. You have the power struggle friends. You know these friends. You talk to these friends, but I'm not with those friends. And you have the power struggles around what friends you have or don't have, which is going to determine your status. You're hanging out with a gang, you're not going to get very good status in other areas. If you're just a control of the bank and you're hanging out with just the bank managers, you got control of that, but you're not going to necessarily meet many artists or many people that are very personal. So third house, seventh house, 11th house, the communication houses, confrontations will be there. A block or a struggle will be there. When you put it into the water houses, the emotional water houses of security, of trust, of conscience, there's going to be blocks about security, fears about security, and a tendency to overcompensate. I got to be over secure or I'll never be secure. That nerve is there. When the Pluto's in the trust, I have to trust. No, I'm not trusted. Can we trust someone? Is this business going to work out, or we have to control it, or we have to set prenuptial rules or whatever, like the power and the confrontation around trusting, around sharing. We're going to get together. We got to have a prenup because if we split up, I don't want to lose my money. What kind of relationship is that? A lot of people will take it, but that's not really based on trust. And Pluto in the 12th house, what's right or wrong? Like this is a Buddhist thing. It's like if you're not supposed to work anywhere where you kill things, or you're killing meat, or you're killing anything, because that is bad dharma. So like if you are, how do you get out of that? How do you transform? And what happens if you're not in the work you want to be doing? What if you're not in the social position? This is a rational thing. It's your voice of conscience. Are you haunted or not? There's fears. This is what blocks. Someone's doing something wrong. Do I say it? Do I not? How can I stand up to it? How can I do this? If I saw the gang rape some girl and the gang's still in control, nobody's disciplining them. Do I tell on them? Don't I tell them? Like, whoa. what's right or wrong. And that conscientiousness, usually people there have to find a fight that they're going to fight for. I'm going to fight for this. I'm going to fight for this. I always felt that by learning astrology, if I helped one person think a little bit better and it changed the world a little bit more intelligently, be a little less war, a little less violent, then it was worth it. So like that's a Pluto in the 12th house, but I certainly run across a lot of challenges with what's conscientious or what's not, whether it should be in the church or whether it should be here, or this is right or that's not wrong. Like you have the morality in the 9th house, but you have the consciousness of what are you doing, what's fair, what's not fair. And I naturally run into in a situation, if someone's being unfair, I run right into them. And I have to take a stand. If someone's abusing their wife, do I take a stand? Whose side do I stand on? Or kids or whatever. So this conscientious, there'll be power struggles and challenges wherever Pluto is. And you can't just say it's this. You know it's there. You don't know exactly what it is. That's all right. You get suspicious, you get learning, you get watching, you get observing, and when something comes up, you say, oh, there's that block. There's the fear they're struggling with. And that's how you come to Pluto. You'll say, oh, you got this, you're messed up, you'll never, you can't do it like that. You know, you wouldn't tell a kid like you're never going to be able to do that. So no, go try it, go do this. Like you have to, usually there's a block and then you have to overcome and you have to face. And if you face it, it's okay. If you run across it and take a second choice, you don't marry the person you want, you choose a second choice because it's safer, then you're discontent most of your life. That's your own karma. And then you have the fears around like, what's true? What's real? As soon as you see where Pluto's, what's true here? What's challenging truth here? You'll come closer to it. You'll be able to walk into this and come closer to it. So this is Pluto. Each level, as we've gone through the planets and the signs, we could see the attitudes going into the personal signs. It was difficult to see the attitudes on a personal level to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto because they're outer planets. But you can see them as generational factors. When we're looking at the houses, see the planets and houses, sometimes it was more difficult to specify the moon or the Venus. You could see it, and you can see it going in there, but it was a bit fuzzier. Here, when you're seeing it, you're seeing these outer planets, and they're really powerful statements as they go into the house, the sides that they lay on, but they're insidious intents that are trying to diminish Saturn and cause problems. But if you're going to deal with them and you work Saturn to be prepared to deal with them, they can be the things that make you a world leader or a great teacher. You know, they can push you to be excellent by being prepared. Saturn, if you're going to go into the extreme outer planets, you better be extra disciplined, extra responsible, or it's going to come back at you. Unfortunately, on this issue, I've had fights with different astrology groups who took different stances and said everybody has to do this or that, and it wasn't valid. And so even though I started a lot of groups and been involved in a lot of groups, there were things I ended up having to do my own, because rather than change the gang that I wanted to believe it a certain way, I had to just do it. This is the way it works for me. This is how I teach. So I have my own, this is my own little branch of astrology. It's perceptive, and I think it's really clearly perceptive beyond the normal way it's being taught. Memorize the 12 houses and put everything in the 12 houses. So as we went through the signs, we're seeing an attitude of planets. As we're going through the houses, we're seeing how the houses are affecting these different areas. Now, next week, we're starting with the aspects. It's our next level of webinar. But then you see how each planet affects each other. So you can see how the fear might affect your mind or your emotions or your sun, and you start to see how the confusion, how the visions or the romance of Neptune is affecting different planets. You start to see these different layers in your life, whole different dimensions functioning with the stress of these planets on them or the not stress of these planets on them. So we start to see the interactions really around it, the energy workings and the power struggles between the planets. Just you get any group of people, there's going to be, what level am I at? Where do I fit in? There's going to be the person on top. There's going to be other people that be in between. You're going to have the spectrum of different roles. Well, the planets have the roles, and they're relating to each other, and they create this scenario that's your matrix, and everyone's is different. But we might have some things in common with someone else and other things different. But you're starting to see, a lot of people call us the kingdom of aspects, so there's so many things. But really, you're starting to see how each planet that's trying to express the sign it's in, is trying to express that attitude, and it's trying to put it into the house it's in. You're going to see how much stress is involved in it, or how much not stress there is by virtue of the aspects that happen to it. So it's a very clear-cut way of working with this. And we have that to add. We have to be able to do that before we can start putting all these pieces together. So yeah, so next week we're starting with the webinar, the next level. It's another couple $100. So you can get that into me however you can. And if you can't, you can spread it out over a period of time or whatever, however we can take care of it. But hard to stop now. We're right here. So we're just about to, it's springtime. We're going into a whole new level of energy and deal with it. So I'll see you next week. Thanks. And just remember, because Pluto's so fearful, Pluto's so fearful. So what? If you got love in your heart, what's fear? It's just a little dark cloud over there. Okay, that's it. Thanks. See you next week. I'm going to end it here.